And I remember turning up to an Ux Fest there, having fallen down the stairs at the singer's house the night before from alcohol. Okay, this goes completely against my ethos of what I want to do with my life. What is it that I'm hiding for? What is it I'm running from? What is it that I'm trying to suppress? The challenging side is I've had to confront these demons of what is it that I have been ignoring for so long.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Dan Leigh podcast. It is a great pleasure that I introduced to you a very good friend of mine. My guest today is Ben Christo. Ben is a musician and he is a performer, he is a songwriter, he is a professional throughout, and we've been friends for many years now. Since working with him with his band Night by Night, with working with bands like Shot Through the Heart. Ben is in a band called Diamond Black. Now he has been a long-standing member of the Sisters of Mercy and has done too many things in between to go into, because we have a podcast to get on with, and I don't want to take up all the time to tell you all the amazing things Ben has done in his career. Ben, welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for doing this.
Dan, thank you for asking me, and it's a real pleasure to be communicating with you like this. I actually had a bit of a flashback, which was we did an interview together about 10 years ago when we first met. I don't know if you recall that, but it was 2011. I know because I remember when we were doing it, where I was and what house I was living in. And yeah, it's so bizarre because it absolutely affirms the fact that we have known each other for that long. We have been friends for that long, and what a ruddy laugh we've had.
Was it on Voice FM when just after you taken our drummer Roz on the road to Norway, I think.
Finland, yes, or actually both. It was both. I think it was Finland and Norway. It was like a little mini tour of that kind of region of the globe, and yeah, that must have been the connection. Yeah, and we had a great time on that tour. Ross was brilliant. We had a right laugh.
Yeah, I remember those days back in the day. I remember when I first saw you, actually, and I remember seeing you at the Underworld. It was by the merch desk, and I remember looking at you going, that guy looks like he should be in a band. I have no idea who he is, but then all the girls, I realized, knew who you were. Hi Ben, and the guys obviously, but I was I mostly noticed how much female attention that you got, and then someone's like, oh, he's in some band or whatever, and then when I saw things of Night by Night coming up and all these things you'd done, and I knew we'd meet at some point. And we did. And ultimately, I guess the rest is sort of history. But today is going to be a little bit of a different podcast, because the main reason for this podcast today, ladies and gentlemen, is because Ben and I were talking the other day, and Ben's had a bit of an experience which I wanted to talk to him about. And over, well, I'll let Ben sort of describe what he's sort of gone through. But Ben has decided to quit drinking. Now, I'm going to start this off, Ben, with just the question of why, really, because when we were talking, you were like, you gave me a number, like I forget what number it was, X amount of days sober, and I was like, it sounds sort of like the language that, I don't want to say an addict, but someone with a real problem might have. Whereas I never saw you as someone with maybe like an issue with alcohol. I never really saw you as someone that I would say, oh, that guy's a drunk, or that guy, if only he stopped drinking, would maybe make a success of himself. So I guess the initial thing is sort of why you decided to go down this route, and and we'll talk about the benefits that you've seen from it.
Well, it'd been something that I'd often, in the last sort of 10 years or so, done stints of stopping drinking, because very gradually over the course of my adult life of being in bands and it being quite normalized, oh, we drink, that's what we do, we're in a rock band, we get pissed, that it started to become something that was quite common, like anything can become a habit. And I had unwittingly I had earned the nickname Ben Christo, Last Man in the Disco, as in I'm always the one who just wants the party to keep going and going and going, and not really knowing when to stop. Now I can say that I'd never drank on stage because the joy of performance, and in the studio, because the joy of music and performance has always been something that I never wanted to be filtered by anything else, and it's like the true, wonderful, brilliant, authentic, fantastic thing in my life that has inspired me from the beginning. The drinking would only ever happen after the shows, and or in some like cases like the night before. I remember when I was starting off with my first like proper band, as in we did touring and like an album and stuff. I remember a few occasions of waking up on the day of the big show. I think we were playing something called Uxfest back then. I remember it was
Uxfest. Oh my gosh, that's like literally just down the. I was always so jealous of anyone who got to play Uxfest because I was in a Harrow band, man. Why you let us in Uxfest? We're local.
Exactly right, and I remember turning up to an Uxfest there, having fallen down the stairs at the singer's house the night before from alcohol, and having some cut on my head that I hadn't really looked at properly. And we got there, and the organizer, Talita, I remember she was like helping me sort out my head with, TCP and stuff. And we still had to pay the gig, and I was hungover, and it was just, there were a couple of little occasions like that started to make me think, okay, this goes completely against my ethos of what I want to do with my life. I love music. I love playing live. So why would I be doing something that would jeopardize that? Spending all that time rehearsing and earning the right to play on Uxfest, to then the night before be like, let's get really drunk and possibly jeopardize it. So a few things like that happened through the following sort of period of maybe 10 years or so from Oxfest onwards, of it not being something that was like that commonplace, but there was always the possibility that it could happen. I remember another instance in 2007, played at this we were doing a couple of festivals, and we played at a festival in Germany, and again, some kind of drinking too much incident, and then I fell over a very small wall down, but they tripped over this small wall after the show. We were out drinking, but then down a very long hill, which was behind the small wall, and woke up the next morning still a little bit like drunk, and got another festival today in Belgium, that would be cool, but whatever. And then trying to open a bottle of Fanta and just not being able to do it, and thinking something's amiss. So I quite badly hurt my wrist in the fall and not really realised. So we got to Belgium, and at that point, fortunately, they were great at the festival, and they actually took me to hospital, and they gave me like some sort of support. So it wasn't really that bad, but it was just a few little occasions like that over a period of time that made me start to think there's something going on here which is not rational behaviour, because it is completely at odds with my, I guess, belief system, or the way that I identify myself as being someone, like I said, who loves to play live. Why would I do that? And then things like this started to become more commonplace over the last 5 years, to the point where I was starting to have these stints of completely quitting, of something like that would happen. Right, that's it. I'm not drinking now for a month because I don't want to jeopardize anything. And I just, it makes me feel awful. And
sorry, that's the only thing I've ever seen with being on the scene. And some people would come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, Ben isn't drinking right now, or he's not drinking for X amount of days." And I remember thinking, why do you know this? And it was like that you had said, there was almost like a public declaration to a bunch of people that we knew, I'm not drinking from now. And then I think it was even like on the night someone had said that to me, and then later in the evening I saw a beer in your hand, I was like, okay, well, I guess that stint is up.
Well, who knows? It could well have been. And what I would often do in these instances would say, right, so there's an important show coming up in a month's time. I'm not going to drink until we've got off stage after that show. So it could have been one of those instances that there was a particular thing that we were working towards. And then it would be this kind of like, right, discipline, discipline, punishment, punishment, can't drink, can't have fun until we get off stage. And which I've realized retrospectively is a really bad way of approaching any sort of issue like that.
So just to go to your point there, when it was discipline, 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 punishment, you actually saw not drinking as a punishment.
Yes, so it was taking something away that was nice. And I'm not sure if it was that coherent a decision of, okay, so I've drank, something's happened, even if that's just me waking up and feeling absolutely terrible and in the middle of a tour and thinking, why am I ruining this? Why am I ruining this great experience? And thinking, right, that's it. I'm now not going to drink for a month, or there's a certain show coming up, so let's get serious. And so it would be more a case of, I'm going to remove any obstacles, because alcohol is like an obstacle. Alcohol would be an obstacle that would stop me being at my best. So got this important show, let's focus on it. And then after the show, it went, well, great, okay, now it's time to celebrate. And because it was those mad extremes of discipline, punishment, no alcohol, no fun, and now all the fun, it meant that there was a terrible imbalance of that, as I guess as a human entity, we're not supposed to put ourselves through those like absolute extremes. It would be like putting yourself in extreme cold or extreme hot. It's not something that that I think that we have the capacity to survive consistently. But that's what I was doing. It was this very black and white thinking of, right, now we don't drink and now we do drink. And so, yeah, in the last 5 years, it started to become more of something that would happen more frequently. Right, time to stop for a month, time to stop for 2 months. But there would always be like this end point on it. There would always be this, okay, so here's the point where we can start drinking again. So that's the thing to look forward to. Again, somehow glorifying it, and it being very much a sense of when that end point comes, it's not, oh, wicked, I can go to the pub and have a few drinks with my mate. It's like, then we can get messed up. Awesome. And it was kind of tricky in the scene, because it really wasn't just me. I remember being with this band who were notorious for drinking, and we went to the I think it was some Metal Hammer Awards or some Kerrang Awards, and it was just as soon as we got there, it was shots on the bar and just drinking, and it became almost this spoof of like, oh, let's go networking, and networking just meant let's do loads of shots and pass out. And it was sort of like comedic, like, oh, that's networking, is it? Right, wicked. But I mean, that was an extreme example, but it was so normalized by like that band, and like you'd go out to a certain show or a certain club, and certain people would already have shots lined up and almost be offended if you don't do them, like you're not being fun. And
so let's just take, if we just put a pin in that, because there has been many times when I do not drink. Well, I cannot say I don't drink anything. It's very rarely, but I've never been drunk ever. And drinking on tour, definitely not. However, I've caught a lot of ridicule for not drinking. Now, in your position as being known as someone, but then I kind of take it, and it's sort of been I kind of just be like, yeah, I'm driving, I can't drink, so that's my excuse. Someone like yourself who has been known to drink, what has been the reaction from people? Because I hear from a lot of people, there's always that one friend who wants to turn us into an alcoholic. There's always that one friend who wants us to get absolutely messed up with them tonight. What was the sort of reaction from people when you were like cutting stuff out?
This time or other times?
Let's go other times first, and then we'll talk about this.
Well, it was a mixed bag, really, because inevitably you're going to get people who, most people are supportive because they don't drink excessively themselves. So they're like, okay, sure, makes sense. Yeah. It's only, I think, if there are people for whom they possibly feel vulnerable or threatened by the fact you're not drinking, because you are indirectly suggesting that they shouldn't drink either by the fact that you're doing it, which may, again, on a subconscious level, make them go, oh God, maybe I've got a dependency. Oh, I don't want to think about that. Let's just drink. And if I can make you drink, then it normalizes it. So, but mostly speaking, people were very understanding. I mean, there would be the inevitable, oh, you know, just have this, just have one, just do that. And I think that will always have been innocent, because that person would not have been going, hey, let's make him drink so that he gets messed up. That's what I want to happen. It's more like, drinking is fun. You're denying yourself by not drinking. Don't deny yourself. Have a good time. So I never think there was anything all the time. That's my philosophy, Marty. And
it didn't take long.
It did, to get onto the Spinal Tap quotes. The more obscure Spinal Tap, which is what I like. So yeah, I think people were generally either, no one was like consciously vindictive. It would either have been people thinking that they were, oh, you know, be nice to yourself, celebrate, have fun, you deserve it. Or people working on a subconscious level of, actually, that threatens me if you don't drink, because it makes me realize that maybe I've got a dependency. So I want you to drink for those reasons.
I remember when I quit smoking, I was like about 19 years old, and I was dating a girl who smoked a lot, and I was developing my voice as a singer, and I said to her, I was like, I really need to stop this. Like, this is messing with my lung capacity. I started to wheeze in the night. It was terrible, and I limited myself. Initially, I limited myself to, like, I don't know, like 4 cigarettes a day or something, which was still quite a lot for me. And then I limited it down to 2, and we'd be out, and she'd have a pint and a cigarette, and she would offer me a cigarette, and I was like, no thanks. And she got really, really annoyed with me, because she resented me for quitting, because it highlighted the fact that she knew she wasn't being healthy, and she was very health conscious, you know, dream catchers on the wall, or meditation, all this kind of stuff. But this was a thing which was a real vice in her life. But she resented me because I think I was holding the mirror up to her, and actually she was fundamental in helping me to quit, because I was like, well, okay, fine, well, I'm gonna just stop completely. If it's gonna make you not want to smoke because I'm not smoking, then I will quit. And I did, and I think I remember saying something silly like, this is my last pack of cigarettes, I'm gonna have these, and then that's gonna be it. And then I looked at these things and I thought, why don't I just quit now? I don't want them. And I just chucked them. Actually, no, I didn't. I kept them in the drawer, and I think I found them like years and years later, like they'd got sort of pushed to the back of some drawer or whatever. And I sort of, it was really sort of brought back a lot of memories. I mean, they went right in the bin, but like the whole thing was a real interesting experience, like you say, because people don't like being, and it's not that you're even sort of being like holier than thou.
Yeah.
Is it? You're just saying, listen, this is a choice I'm making. So yeah, on a subconscious level, I think people do understand where they're sort of not in alignment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of strength that's gone into that decision you made of, rather than this is the last pack, now I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to enjoy this. But you just like, I'm going to stop now. It's the same thing. And it's the classic, I'll start tomorrow. Well, yeah, let's start today instead. And I think that takes a lot of strength for you to have done that. And that's very impressive. Because we all have this tendency of, okay, 1st of January or Monday or whatever it is, to demarcate it in that kind of way, which is actually postponing the decision to do it and then making it easier to postpone it again.
I had one today. Sorry, I had one today actually, because we were going to do this interview, and I was on the bit of the back foot, and I was like, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. And then my dumbbell is like on the side, and I was like, okay. And that was it. Just sort of go into it. Why wait till tomorrow?
No, good on you. And then the reward that you get from making that decision of showing that you actually are completely in control. Because when you're looking at that cigarette packet and going, actually, this is the last packet, it still has control over you, because it's not you making the decision. It's an addiction or a dependency that's delaying you actually doing the thing that you say you want to do. And so I guess, yeah, people were. I never feel like anyone was ever being vindictive, or it was just different sort of support thing. Yeah. What is it that I'm hiding for? What is it I'm running from? What is it that I'm trying to suppress? The challenging side is I've had to confront these demons of what is it that I have been ignoring for so long.
Well, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Dan Leigh podcast. If you would like to watch the second half of this podcast right now, please hit the link in the description below and head over to my Patreon site where I have tons of exclusive content and perks. Alternatively, in 2 weeks' time, I'll be putting the second half out for everyone to see. But whatever you decide to do, before you go, please hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you guys very soon. Stay frosty. Bye-bye.